Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this closing session for our Asset Recovery Global Forum. I'm very, very pleased to have the opportunity to close this forum today and with this session, and it's a great honor and a great pleasure also for us to have been able to facilitate the roundtable of the Global Forum on Asset Recovery for the last couple of days. Let me first start by expressing my gratitude to the distinguished representatives of the 4 focus countries and the civil society organizations. Not all of them, they're still working, and so some of them are still in bilateral meetings, but let me recognize the Honorable Jayanta Jayasuriya from Sri Lanka, the Attorney General. Artem Sutnik, the Director for the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, and Reverend David Ugola, who represents an NGO, and he's the founder and executive director of the Africa Network for Environment and Economic Justice from Nigeria. So the others we will have the pleasure of seeing in a few minutes when they have gone forward with continued and finalized the work that they are still undertaking in bilateral meetings. One of the things that is particularly welcome about this forum is that it was something that grew out of the 2016 London Anti-Corruption Summit, and leaders welcomed the creation of this forum at the summit, and the World Bank and UNODC Stolen Asset Recovery Initiative, STAR, was gladly accepting the role that we were assigned and the opportunity to help co-host and organize this summit. This forum following the summit. This was a clear signal that the international community, with the leadership of the United States and the United Kingdom, would continue to demonstrate the political will to boost international cooperation on the anti-corruption agenda. As the GFAR inaugural event is now drawing to a close, I would like to thank our co-hosts on behalf of STAR for their leadership and support to the organization of this event. And I would also like to thank the 4 focus countries for their commitment to undertaking the difficult task of prosecuting corruption in their countries and to engage the international community in this issue. This requires both courage and commitment, and it's hugely commendable from our perspective. Beyond the stolen billions that we hope will be recovered in the future, in addition to those that we have already been able to support in terms of their recovery, there are millions of people deprived of basic services in countries who are unable to ensure economic development for their citizens. Asset recovery is therefore not an end in itself, but it's a way to ensure that justice is served and that public resources are put back to their intended use to serve the many and not to line the pockets of a few. We are proud that by organizing this forum through STAR, we have helped the international community take additional steps toward justice. Over 80 bilateral and multilateral meetings have been held over the past 3 days. These meetings have facilitated cooperation between requesting countries and their counterparts, and they have led to tangible progress. They've also helped the focus countries make progress in different ways. For instance, as a result of the bilateral meetings, the Tunisian delegation, we heard, identified potential new legal grounds to accelerate the return of seized properties. Final confiscation orders need not be, in all cases, a prerequisite returning state property to the country who owns the assets. In fact, investigative justices often have the right to return them to the rightful owner without waiting for the finalization of the criminal confiscation. We know that the practice of international cooperation through personal and direct interaction between the investigators, prosecutors, and other relevant agencies is essential to ultimate success. This can bring rare victories in this tough line of work. I was told, for example, that a member of the Nigerian delegation could finally be seen smiling for the first time after hours of bilateral meetings with the US, UK, and Switzerland. We hope that we bring more of this, of course, more smiles to people's face, to prosecutors' faces, to the work that has been initiated here. And I must say that the other thing that I heard was that the colleagues that work with me were particularly pleased to see that there was a very different crowd that the World Bank was able to attract to these meetings in terms of prosecutors and those who work on finding out where stolen assets are, that track them, but also are then involved in their prosecution, and that we were able to bring them all together. This work that has been undertaken in the forum will help finalizing cases and thus achieving effective asset recovery. As our Senior Vice President and General Counsel Cindy Okoro reminded us in her opening remarks, this is not a conference for talking, but was a forum for doing. The technical discussions have had over the past few days provided a platform to boost asset recovery efforts. We need to collectively apply the most innovative legal and technical tools to keep up with the increasing sophistication of criminals. The panel discussions yielded a wealth of good practices, from enacting innovative legislation to using modern technology and ensuring an effective domestic coordination mechanisms. As a partner in the STAR initiative, we are committed to helping ensure that these insights are shared widely. Finally, I'm grateful for the participation of civil society organizations in this forum. In our view, CSOs are key to helping shape strong political will and reinforcing the momentum that shape and ensure the implementation of anti-corruption policies. As we have seen recently in cases before the French courts, civil society can play an essential role in effective asset recovery. We also need to be cognizant of the real challenges we face. Recovering stolen asset takes time. The milestone that we reached earlier this week, when Switzerland and Nigeria signed the MOU for the return of looted Abacha assets, took years to reach. And maybe at this moment I should also recall that, in fact, the STAR initiative grew out of an initiative by our former World Bank president, Bob Zoellick. And we had a lot of interaction with him through the STAR initiative at the beginning, because he was very eager to see quick results. And I think what this effort shows is that it was both important to take the initiative, but beyond the quick results, to actually stick with the effort and make some of these things come true, even when it took longer than originally expected. Corrupt officials and regimes, assisted by professional enablers, put a lot of effort to ensure that their illicit profits cannot be traced, unraveling the maze of individuals, businesses, bank accounts, and legal structures concealed in financial centers, and conducting multiple international investigations and procedures is highly challenging, complex, and requires lengthy steps that can stretch even even investigators with very high capacity. Whoever commits to asset recovery commits to the long haul and to stay in the game for the long term. This event and the follow-up work are but one step on that road, and it is certainly not the final destination. We hope that this week has elevated the issue of asset recovery and will help energize those who work to make it happen. I would like now to give the floor to the representatives on this panel so that they can share their thoughts and insights of this week and the challenges that we must collectively address. So we will start with Ladida Baratu Mohammed from Nigeria, and then continue along the line of colleagues in making their representation. And welcome.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry I ran in late because I was attending the bilateral between Nigeria and the U.S. First of all, I would like, on behalf of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice of Nigeria, who is the leader of the delegation, thank you all for making Nigeria one of the focal point countries to be considered in GFAR. We are privileged to be one of those countries, and we sincerely appreciate it. And because of the importance we attach to this GFAR, before coming to America, we made sure that we held a pre-GFAR conference that involves CSOs and all other stakeholders. In fact, the pre-GFAR conference was attended by representatives of the American Embassy, the British Embassy, as well as the Swiss Embassy in Nigeria. And that pre-GFAR arrangement gave us ample opportunity to articulate our position before coming. And we are really grateful for all the support we got from the World Bank, from the UNODC, of course, the STAR Initiative. Like I always tell Mr. Oliver, that we were guided precisely like missiles and were able to achieve a lot by virtue of the guidance we got. And of course, to the American Embassy, the consular section in Nigeria, we sincerely appreciate your patience through the process of the issuance of the visa to all our delegates that attended this conference. We say thank you very much. And for the achievements in GFAR, we have recorded a lot of achievements through the bilateral meetings we held with the Switzerland, the UK, and the United States of America. The highlight of our own achievement is the signing of the MOU with the Swiss for the repatriation of the $321 million Abacha loot. And we also look forward, we are making headway through the bilateral agreements to sign another agreement. Probably, of course, we were hoping we'll be able to sign at this forum, but for some technicalities, we're not able to conclude. But we hope very soon we're going to sign an agreement with the United States for the repatriation of the 1 million Alemes here, as well as the $481 million Abacha loot as well. And we also thank the forum because it gave us room to reach some understanding. It opened discussion. The forum provided an opening for us to discuss certain issues that have been looming between Nigeria and the United States of America. I want to say thank you very much, and we also look forward to post-GFAR implementation of the things we have achieved, particularly in the area of asset management, because that is an area that has been posing a lot of challenges to Nigeria. We hope that whatever we got, particularly what we got this afternoon, we're going to put it to use. As some of you may be aware, we have a lot of legislations in the Assembly, in the National Assembly, that are directly related to the fight against corruption. So we hope that the experiences we have gotten from this GFAR forum, we're going to use it to expedite the passage of those bills that are pending. On behalf of the Nigerian delegation, once again, I say thank you very much for all the support. And I also wish us a safe trip back home to our various countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jan. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when we walked here on Monday morning, so we were wondering, when we think about 72 hours, it's a very short period of time. What can you do in 72 hours? You compare with the time that we have spent here in this world, it's just a fraction. But now, here, when I'm standing up here, we realize that what change can be brought in within such a short space of time. If we have the determination, if we have the opportunity, if we have the commitment. That is what was reflected through GFAR to us. We are privileged that we got the opportunity to attend this inaugural GFAR. We are grateful to the co-hosts, the United States of America and the United Kingdom, the World Bank and the World Bank and the STAR Initiative working together and making this event a reality. Our delegation represents multiple agencies in our domestic system. It represents the Attorney General's Chamber, the Presidential Task Force on Asset Recovery, the Independent Commission on Bribery and Corruption, the Financial Intelligence Unit, the Criminal Investigations Department, and the Financial Crimes Investigations Department. It is not only these departments or the different agencies that are represented here, you would see a real cross-section of these agencies are represented here and fully involved in this process. Along with me, we have the chairman of the Presidential Task Force, a Presidential Counsel, a senior official from the Criminal Division of the Attorney General's Chamber, the Director General, who is also a President's Counsel of the Bribery and Corruption Independent Commission, the Director of the Financial Crimes Investigations Division, and a senior officer who is handling these cases in the Attorney General's Department, along with several investigators who are working on the ground, going through the hassle, the processes, and the difficulties, and meeting the challenges in going ahead with these investigations. So we are happy that we all got the opportunity to witness this event and take part actively in this process. This is not an ordinary another conference. Of course, it had the segment where we were able to enhance our knowledge, gather experience, enhance our expertise on thematic areas such as the importance of international networking, the importance of domestic coordination, the technology and the legal tools which can assist in asset recovery process, as well as the media and the civil society, the role that can play in this whole process. So these gathering knowledge, enhancing our knowledge in these thematic areas, of course, is useful when we launch our own operations in our domestic systems. But the process, as we have witnessed, is not something that we can achieve alone. It is only through the effective international cooperation that we can meet our challenges. In that regard, we are grateful that having been selected as a focus country, that we had the opportunity to meet with nearly 7 or 8 jurisdictions in bilateral meetings, discussing our cases, more than 34 cases in number. The opportunity that we got in these bilateral discussions gave us an opening to build personal contacts, relationships, as well as gain knowledge on different systems in different jurisdictions. Sometimes a mutual legal assistance request that we send may not be responded as speedily as we would be expecting. It may not give the information that we would have welcomed to receive everything that we asked for. But these bilaterals gave us the opportunity to understand why that happens. It may be the way that we have requested the material. It may be the material itself that we have requested. It may be a situation where we had not been successful in explaining why we need this material. Understanding different domestic processes with due recognition for their own domestic jurisdictions as to what thresholds that we need to clear if we are to receive proper guided cooperation. We are thankful to that opportunity, and not only that, we had been privileged to bring with us 3 jurisdictions together and discuss common issues or common problems that we face in receiving responses to our mutual legal assistance requests. That's an opportunity to explore the possibility of forging groups of state parties coming together, who are having common problems, how we could meet these challenges. So this is what we learned. This is what we experienced through this GFAR. So I'm thankful to giving this opportunity, and we know that the STAR initiative, the efforts, the energy, the time, and the resources that you have invested in this. But we can assure you all, it is not an expenditure, it will be an investment in a jurisdiction which is trying hard to achieve the objectives that we all are gathered here and expecting to achieve. The fight against corruption and to have the stolen assets being brought back to the jurisdiction to the benefit of its rightful owners. That is what we have embarked on, and the experience that we gathered here is immense. What we will be taking back home is immense, but that doesn't mean that the way forward is without any challenges. But we have the courage and the determination to meet those challenges. We know the world community is with us, and with the support of this world community, we are in a position to achieve our goal. All this within a space of 2 years. Most of the investigations are handled by the Financial Crimes Investigations Division of the CID, which was formed just 2 years ago. Having gone through these bilateral discussions and sharing their experiences, the genuine concerns that they had, and the comments they made on our initiatives that we had taken, we are glad and we are happy that our investigators and all who are involved in this task are in a position to meet these challenges and bring forth the results that are desired from this. I should acknowledge the civil society, the contribution that they are making in anti-corruption drive back home. Their contribution in this aspect is useful, it's beneficial, it provides opportunities for state agencies to formulate their policies as well as in launching their operations, how best that we could achieve our necessary targets. And as I said, we all are privileged, just not only because it's the inaugural GFAR. This is an instance where theory was transformed to practice. We all had the privilege and honor to witness a historical event where our brothers and sisters in Nigeria were benefited from an international multi-party effort, and where the people of Nigeria would ultimately be benefited with these $321 million US, which had been gathered through international cooperation. If not for international cooperation, it will be a dream whether a country on its own could achieve such target. So these are lessons that we have learned today. This is what we are carrying forward back home, and with the hope and wish that we would be assisted, we would be supported, we would be provided with courage and necessary assistance from each one of you whenever we need. That would help us achieving this task. Thank you very much.
أيها السيدات والسادة، مساءكم جميل، وأرجو أن يكون باقي الجهد الذي لديكم يعني قادر على أن تعودوا به إلى بلدانكم أكثر مقدرة على مواجهة موضوع هام وهام جدا. ليس بوسعي في البداية إلا أن أهنئ المنظمين على حسن التنظيم وعلى النجاح الذي حققوا.
I would like to thank the organizers and the success that they have achieved in organizing this meeting. Also, I'd like to thank the organizers as they have already made it more difficult and more important, because when we came here we were asking if it's possible that we will see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we will say that the peoples can have restored the assets that have been sent abroad. And of course you have you know already that we have responsibility. We hope that we'll see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we hope that we are going to restore the stolen assets of the peoples. Let us go back to our countries, feeling that now we are more responsible in facing this commitment. And I would like to tell you, I'm not only going to follow up this conference during these committees and this meeting, but I was also following up through the media. It was in Washington, D.C., and it was on the TV channels in Tunisia. You made this matter something new in my country, and you have already made us more responsible, that we will go back home, that we have more hope and serious actions in order that we can achieve objective aims in that field. And thank you very much. I have already witnessed and I have participated in the works of some committees on the bilateral level, and I think that the first lesson that we have learned from this conference is not a matter of procedures only or technical actions that will be taken care of by some specialists. They might lead to a result and they might not lead, but before all, it's a matter of will. The will that should be available in assisting to restore the stolen assets. This is the main topic that is occurring in our minds, that we know that if the political will be available, and we can achieve the results accordingly. So it's not a matter of procedures and the restoration of the assets. It's a cooperation between the different countries in order that they can put an end to the stealing the wealth of the different nations. This is the political will, the administrative will, and legal procedures. Not one party can do all these matters or can restore the assets. This is a good lesson that we have learned and we have taken care of, and we have been talking with Switzerland and other countries. I felt that the political will is going to be the real cadre through which, and the coverage through which we can go ahead with our countries and the rule of law. The second point that I would like to mention, that we have been successful after 2 days of incessant work, that we were able to have a mutual conviction that we can achieve everything without the judicial procedures only. because confiscation is one of the procedures that should be taken care of in order that we can restore the stolen assets from the peoples, and that has been smuggled out of their countries. And this is the problem of my country. In Tunisia, we are facing smuggling of such funds and assets abroad. And this makes the judicial verdicts over them are appealable, and they are not final because they could be reviewed. And this guarantee from the persons who are absent has been a real problem for us regarding the recovery of the assets. But thanks to the common efforts with STAR, we have already achieved more procedures that are more reasonable. And this was a result of our discussions with Switzerland, and we are really grateful with Switzerland because they have sympathized with us in that particular field. Also, we have already discussed long discussions, and we hope that this discussion should have been positive. That is the amounts that are freezed in the European countries. There should be a kind of easing the restrictions for this freezed money in order that we can restore these matters, funds to the peoples. Therefore, we have to keep this matter, and that we have the hope that repatriating these amounts and the recovery is important. In the bilateral meetings, there were initial agreements that such funds should be freezed for certain periods in order that the countries should take care of all the procedures that are needed for restoring these amounts. Therefore, we go back home with the responsibility that we have to work and achieve results. And after this conference, I can say that we have seen the light at the end of the tunnel. As for the requirements of the peoples, that we are going to work in an organized manner, and that these assets should be recovered to their peoples. This is what I would like to say, and myself with members of my delegation have great hopes, and I think those who are taking care of the organization are helping us, and we hope that they are going to help us in the future, and we work with STAR and with the sponsor countries who are helping us for the procedure that we have to take care of in order that we can have the hope with the countries that have funds that are deposited on such countries. Therefore, we are going to depend on you in order that we can restore these rights to their people. In conclusion, I would like to say that the world has already witnessed many developments. One of the most important developments that we assess and evaluate people and governments who are with terrorism and those who are against terrorism. And this was an important landmark because we have divided the world between those who are with terrorism and those who are against it. But this period, the world is divided into two parts: those who are with corruption and those who are against corruption. This is the new title for this period. And Tunisia has already chosen to be against corruption, as well as everybody here. We are all going in the same direction in order that we can resist corruption that is endangering the peoples. And thank you very much. I would like to thank each and every person who identified this, and also I'd like to thank the civil society from Tunisia who is going to participate with us for the governance, and I hope that you are going to have safe trips back home, and thank you.
Добрий день всім присутнім. Наша делегація представляє.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. We represent the delegation of Ukraine. Ukraine is the country that in the course of 25 years has been suffering from corruption, and unfortunately, it is the country that lost its best people during the Maidan revolution 3 years ago. Those events were caused by the fact that the Ukrainian society could no longer endure what was happening. That is corruption. And I am the head of a new young anti-corruption organization, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. This organization was created 2 years ago, and our main task is to struggle against corruption in the higher levels of government, to investigate cases of high-ranking government officials, and of course return stolen assets to Ukraine as well. What we have seen in the course of the first 2 years of our work is that corruption schemes seldom end in the country where they start, and I think everybody who is present here will agree with me. Corruption has long become a transnational crime, and such conferences, such forums are important because they give us a chance to discuss those problems and ways to address them. I can tell you myself that 90% of the cases we investigate are connected with international cooperation. I'm thankful to the forum organizers for bringing us here, for inviting us here, and for giving us this opportunity to discuss those problems with our colleagues from other countries. The bilateral meetings that we had here have given us an opportunity not just to exchange our practices and methods and experiences in struggling corruption and asset recovery. These bilateral meetings allow us to move on with international cooperation. So in the course of 2 days, we had constant discussions with our colleagues, not just general issues of anti-corruption work and asset recovery, but also specific criminal cases and ways to complete our investigations as soon as possible, because Ukraine expects real results in anti-corruption struggle. We understand that it's not only court decisions that delay the outcomes, but also we need to recover the assets. And this is why cooperation with many international partners is important. It works well. This forum allowed us to make such cooperation more fruitful, bring it to a new level, and it allows us to improve both our activities in anti-corruption struggle and in asset recovery. Also, this conference gives a chance us to talk with our colleagues about the problems we are currently facing in Ukraine, specifically in this field of anti-corruption struggle, because, like I said, 2-3 years ago, corruption and billion-dollar assets that were being stolen from Ukraine caused the people of Ukraine to come out on the streets and drive away the corrupt leaders, and this gave an impetus to the political elites. Message that the people of Ukraine will no longer tolerate no response to corruption, and stealing of our assets should be ended. So during the short time I've been in charge of the Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, we were able to investigate and disclose a number of criminal schemes and investigate and transfer those cases to the courts, but we probably were too optimistic because we confronted tremendous resistance to this work, and currently perhaps this is one of the last days of my job in this position, because today Ukraine's parliament registered a new bill that will simplify their right to fire me on political reasons. And the motive is very simple. Not everyone in Ukraine likes the fact that somebody is really investigating corruption and freezing assets abroad and intends to bring those assets back to the people of Ukraine. But at the same time, this discussion gives us a real opportunity to reserve support of our colleagues and share their knowledge and skills. And when we go back to Ukraine, we'll be able to continue the struggle. So I am thankful for everything we learned here in the course of these 2-3 days. This will give us a lot of inspiration to continue what we have been done so far. I would like to thank our colleagues from the Federal Bureau of Investigations of the United States, who put a lot of effort into organizing this conference, and they are our reliable partners, the ones who support us constantly and give us a lot of inspiration in our work. So I'm very thankful to all those who organized this, especially to the colleagues in the FBI. I hope that the next forum will attend with greater results, and both in terms of court sentences for high-ranking corruptioners in Ukraine, as well as in asset recovery. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
You know, we haven't got the privilege like our governments. My colleagues will have to take time to come and stand with me. On behalf of civil society organizations present at the first Global Forum on Asset Recovery, we are presenting this civil society statement. We thank the co-hosts, the US and the UK, and the organizers, the Stolen Asset Recovery Initiative, for inviting us to this forum. We welcome the participation of our government from Sri Lanka, Tunisia, Nigeria, and Ukraine. We civil society organizations from those focal countries and international CSOs urge all government to take concrete measures to address the underlying causes of asset theft. The ease with which stolen money can be spirited away into international financial system must be addressed. We urge all countries that are attractive destinations for corrupt wealth to take immediate steps to close down the secrecy loopholes in their jurisdiction and ensure that facilitators of corrupt wealth are prosecuted and sanctioned. In particular, we call on the US to adopt public and robustly verified beneficial ownership register for companies, trusts, and property, and to introduce and proactively enforce legal requirements to conduct proper customer due diligence. We urge the UK to ensure that beneficial ownership information is readily available from its overseas territories and the Crown dependency, and that the beneficial ownership property register is swiftly legislated for, and that professional enablers who facilitate the laundering of corrupt wealth are prosecuted and sanctioned. Countries from which wealth is stolen must make sure they have in place the system to prevent asset theft and ensure the prosecution of corrupt actors. We urge Sri Lanka to adopt a comprehensive Proceeds of Crime Act to amend the Declaration of Assets and Liabilities Act, ensuring public dissemination of asset declaration, and to ensure that anti-corruption agencies are able to do their job properly by removing restrictive information sharing provisions. Tunisia, to create a multi-stakeholder and publicly accountable committee responsible for asset recovery in Tunisia. To introduce new legislation which criminalizes illicit enrichment and introduces a requirement for officials to make asset declaration, and to enhance the role and resources of Tunisia financial judicial pool. Ukraine to introduce anti-corruption courts and reforms to the prosecuting bodies, to disclose the number of criminal proceedings against Yanukovych and his associates and the amount of their assets frozen abroad, to ensure pre-trial settlement with corrupt actors, legal and properly transparent. Nigeria to ensure swift passage of Proceeds of Crime Act, effectively resource the new Asset Recovery and Management Unit to create a single national body responsible for delivering the national anti-corruption strategy and to strengthen the autonomy of Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. The process of asset recovery remains painfully slow. 6 years after the Arab Spring, only $1 billion of $165 billion allegedly stolen by former rulers in the region has been recovered. We believe that the countries must work together urgently and proactively to find ways to identify and overcome the main obstacle to asset recovery. This should include making sure that relevant law enforcement bodies have mandate, expertise, resources to uncover corrupt wealth, and independent of political interference. State must also simplify legal procedure for asset recovery and develop legal tools that allow the confiscation of proceeds of corruptions and the provision of assistance without criminal conviction. Civil society organizations believe that asset recovery must be accountable and transparent at all stages. The current absence of data from all countries on asset recovery, both requested and requested state, is a startling failure of accountability. We urge all countries present at the GFAR to commit to providing public, comprehensive and disaggregated asset recovery data, including the number of cases they have, the number of assets frozen, sanctions taken against financial facilitators, and the length of time taken to respond to requests for assistance. We also strongly believe that asset recovery must be put to purpose of ending impunity for grand corruption. Sentiments that are untransparent or that provide blanket immunity to individuals or groups of people undermine public confidence in the fight against corruption. The use of amnesties to shield perpetrators from accountability likewise create distrust in the process. Abuse of immunity by corrupt actors to frustrate prosecution and the recovery of assets must not be allowed. Civil society organizations have a key role to play in exposing corruption, identifying evidence that can lead to the tracing and recovery of stolen assets. States cannot be successful in tracking down stolen assets on their own. Collective action and genuine partnership with non-state actors is needed. We urge those countries present at the GFAR to commit to protecting the legislative and political space for CSO working in this area, to engage CSOs in a regular and meaningful way on asset recovery issues, and to look at ways to ensure that CSOs can bring public interest claim to help recover the proceeds of corruption. Assets recovered by use for repairing the harm caused by grand corruptions and for meeting the goal 16 of Sustainable Development Goals. The return of assets should involve the engagement with a wide range of stakeholders, including CSOs, in determining how returned assets should be utilized. CSOs have a crucial role to play in monitoring how such assets spent upon return. Finally, we believe that the GFAR has been an important means of generating political will to push the asset recovery agenda forward. The signing of the MOU between Switzerland and Nigeria to return $321 million stolen by former dictator Sani Abacha is a good example of this. We believe that states must take the opportunity of GFAR to make tangible and measurable commitment on improving asset recovery and report within a year on how they have met those commitments. They must be open about the obstacles they encounter during GFAR on specific cases. And lessons must be learned for future forums. We are disappointed that the space within the agenda for meaningful dialogue between civil society and government has been too limited, and that opportunity for creating collective action and forging partnership have been lost as a result. Ultimately, however, we urge all those who came to the GFAR to maintain the energy and commitment to getting stolen assets returned to the people who they belong to and to those who suffer most from their theft. Thank you. God bless.
Well, thank you again to all of you for sharing your thoughts in this forum. And speaking for the World Bank and for STAR, we're very honored to have had the opportunity to contribute to these efforts. So let me just, before I hand to the final closing to the co-organizers from the United States and from the United Kingdom, let me just end with a few thoughts. One of them is, of course, this work will continue. You've already heard in the opening session that we have, with our UN ODC partner, several countries have updated and produced new recovery guides and beneficial ownership guides since the London conference. And we're also disseminating tools and information through the STAR website. And we have finalized and nearly completed several new and updated knowledge products. These includes stolen asset recovery watch database and a directory of asset recovery networks, and new publications on bankruptcy and on recovery that we will be launching soon. So this is not the end. This is the beginning. This is bringing together many around the world to discuss how to manage stolen assets and recover them, but also a contribution of an exchange of information and knowledge that will be very important going forward, and we will continue maintaining that platform through the stolen asset recovery together with our UN partners. But before I finally close the session, I also want to recognize the points that were made by the panelists that were very important. This is not something that operates in a vacuum. It's very important that as stolen assets get recovered, that they return into a system where corruption is being actively combated, where we have law enforcement that ensures that those who within their own systems are having access to public and private resources that are illicitly gained are prosecuted in their own countries, and that the wrongdoing is recognized and that the prosecution is enabled. That's the foundation on which we stand when we recover stolen assets, that they return to a system and to countries that can use them, put them to better use for the purposes that they were intended for. And then a very important part of that is the transparency agenda, and we heard beneficial ownership, we heard issues of disclosure. There's an international agenda around it that has proceeded, but there's also the strong agenda around NGOs, civil society, and citizen engagement to raise awareness, to keep a watchful eye, and to support those in every country that are seeking to minimize corruption and to follow the money and to track down those who are engaged in corrupt and illicit activities, so that resources are really being put to the best use for everyone. And this is what this is really about, and I think this was very good comments and great event and an excellent exchange of information, and has brought us well forward. And with these words, let me invite the co-hosts from the United Kingdom and the United States to make final remarks to close this forum. And thank you so much from the World Bank side again for coming, for being here, for making this a successful event, and for supporting our work together with UN ODC in supporting you in recovering assets and stolen assets around the world. Thank you.
We will just need 1 minute to have the next group join us on the podium. In the meantime, we have our colleagues from the co-host countries getting ready to actually join for the final remarks from the co-host countries, US and UK. We're told that they are kind of joining from another meeting, so I ask for your indulgence for a few minutes while they join us on the stage. Thank you very much.